Are you sick of seeing peaceful people being locked away for victimless crimes? Instead of trying to get out of jury duty, consider taking it so you can do the right thing. A single juror with a conscience can send someone home to their family instead of to a jail cell. If there's no victim, how can there be a crime? And if the judge or prosecutor are keeping you in the dark, what are they trying to hide? You can vote your conscience instead of being a pawn of the state. For more information, Google jury nullification or check out the Fully Informed Jury Association at fija.org.
But obviously, on the larger level.
You know what's funny? And I this is just a side note, and I guess we could discuss this for a second, but it's really interesting. It just hit me while you were talking, okay? There's
Translation, Dave wasn't actually listening.
No, I was listening.
It is slavery. It's just a different name. A lot of people don't realize what it is. And when we bring these ideas to light and make people realize, that this government force is the problem.
And to me, it's like I say, imagine you're an abolitionist in the 19th century, and these slave masters are giving you the same exact argument. Who's going to pick the cotton?
Hey, Seeds of Liberty. Read the show's description, please. Fervently complete the course, report him to the infantry. Finish him, deconstruct the fallacy. Seasonal production means it seems to spawn a tragedy. Peep the action, please. A fraction of the allegory. Corollary cadences, complaining on a sadder story. Menial, recently reading into the thesis here. Mirroring the people who completely fail to see it though. Seeing is believing, yes, the reason is appealing most. Reading enemies is just enables you to see it too. Menial, recently reading into the thesis here. Mirroring the people.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seeds of Liberty podcast. This is episode 78. As always, the Seeds of Liberty podcast is covered by the BIPCOT No Government License. This allows reuse by anyone except governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org. So this week, it's just Dave and I. We had some guests scheduled, but they had some technical issues at the last minute, so we're going to proceed without them. I really don't know where we're going tonight. I think we're just going to start a conversation and see where that gets us.
Are you keeping up at all with the Hillary Clinton leaks at all? Like all the WikiLeaks and the DC leaks and everything?
I didn't think anything else had... I thought that nothing had come out, except I thought I saw that Guccifer decided to come out with something again.
Okay, did you read what happened through the Guccifer leaks? There's 800-something megabyte, or not megabytes, but gigabytes of this data just from his, so it's going to take months to dig through this. But the biggest thing they found so far, and this is gonna knowing the old school conservative that you are, deep down in your heart, this is gonna fire you up. The TARP bailout monies, basically cent for fucking cent, went directly to the banks, and then from the banks to the Clinton Foundation. It was just a big whoop. So none of the banks were failing. None of that shit happened. None of that was. All that was just money for the Clinton Foundation. All that money.
That is spectacular.
Doesn't that just fucking bitch?
Well, it just, it makes sense, but...
doesn't the conservative in you just die, though? Just I knew it wasn't. I knew it was some bullshit.
Well, not really, because, I can't even say what I have at my heart, because I started out a Democrat, man. I took the long, circuitous fucking route to get here. I took a pit stop in every fucking camp. So... Well,
I guess we all still have, our prejudices or so. So, I still, gun to my head, I still, lean, I still agree more with the Republicans on their things.
Yeah, nowadays I do, sure. But I don't even view that as, a Republican.
And I think I've hated Hillary Clinton since... when you play video games your whole life, you tend to hate people that want to stifle or stop them. And Hillary Clinton was on the warpath for a while.
Yes, that's the funny thing, because when Willie was in office, I actually liked him. I voted for him twice.
Oh boy!
But I couldn't stand her from day one, and I still was a hardcore. I
just get a bad feeling looking at her, dude.
Yeah, I never liked her. Like I said, even back then when I considered myself a very progressive liberal and was very.
Jeremy, I can't even imagine you being someone who would say that they were progressive and a liberal.
But but that's what I'm saying. I was the useful idiot for them because I didn't really know what those terms meant.
Yeah.
I just voted
You just thought you were
Democrat.
in the right.
Well, I just voted Democrat because I only barely paid attention, and it was the things like, even back then, gay marriage and, legalize marijuana, even if it's just for medical, like all the social issues that the liberals actually get right. I was for all these things, so I was like, well, this has to be where I belong. So that's where I just went with that. I didn't pay attention to policy. I didn't pay attention to
because economics and all that
foreign
isn't.
affairs. I knew jack shit about economics back then. I knew absolutely nothing.
That's why they say people become right wing or they become Republican or conservative or whatever the minute they start paying taxes. They have to. The economics is no longer ignorable.
Well, it wasn't paying taxes though, because I started paying taxes before that. Mine aligned more closely to the whole, if you're a conservative and under 30, you're an idiot. If you're a liberal, if you're a conservative and under 30, you have no heart. If you're a liberal and over 30, you have no brain. I was closer to that because it was right when I bought my house and started my business.
What happens if you become an anarchist under 30?
I don't know. That doesn't play into that equation. That whole dichotomy is not necessarily true anyway. But like I said, my trajectory just aligned closer to that because I was a very liberal Democrat, progressive-ish, I guess. I never used the word progressive, but that's pretty much where I was headed with the stuff that I was agreeing with, just because I just, that sounds good. But that was, that was around 27, 28 when I started my business and then got the house a year later. That's when I started shifting hard to the right, when I was like, whoa, this shit sucks. What is this crap?
I'm paying for this?
And the sad thing was, it was even the stuff with my business. I just didn't make the connections because it was the regulations and the stuff I had to worry about and the laws I had to follow and all that. Like that started to bug me, but I didn't make the connection to, well, that's government and that's why government sucks. I found ways to blame that on the Democrats. So I was just like, this sucks and I don't want to have to deal with this. And
government is just so inefficient as a part of human society, just as a whole. I mean, it's just so painful and painfully obvious that it can't keep up with the market and technology and the human will for and desire of information and all this other stuff. Just the flow of technology and information. Like people, they don't like this stuff being stifled by the state and everything being slowed down by the state. And that's all people are seeing from the state these days. They're like, why is this thing even here anymore? Eventually, the useful idiot's going to start asking that question, I think.
Well, yeah, it happens all the time. Like I said, I was a useful idiot. I was a useful idiot for both sides.
Oh, yeah, me too. Well,
I
I was hardcore conservative my whole life until I was 24, 23. And then I gave up. As soon as they went McCain, I died inside. And then after that, and they went Romney for the first time, I double died inside. There was a re-death, and then I was done. I was just done with it. So I was a conservative my whole life. So I understand the playing the both sides, but I was die hard, like, give me the flag, give me a gun, I'll fight for this bad boy. Like, and you never stop and ask why, You're like, why am I like that?
Well, of course not. I mean, that was the one thing. Despite everything I did, like all the paths I took and the different camps I sat in for a while, I was never really a flag waver. And I still considered myself a liberal the first time it happened, because that was 9/11, and I was only 24 at the time, I guess. Yeah, 24. Like I said, I still consider myself that way, but I became like a warhol. I became a what do they call them? The blue
neocon.
No, because I was still a liberal. What is it? The Blue Dog Democrats, is that what they call them?
Yeah.
The ones that are more warhawkish.
Blue Hawk.
I thought it was the Blue Dogs.
Blue Dog, yeah, Blue
Dog. Well, because the Reagan Democrats are the opposite. So I think whatever it is, but yeah, that's how I kind of became
the pro-war Democrats.
Yeah, because I became a neocon in that capacity to like the umpteenth degree. I was horrible. Like I've said it before. The actual phrase, "turn that whole fucking place to glass," turn it into a parking lot came out of my mouth so often, and like
dude,
with such like passion as I was saying it, like I wanted to kill these people.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was like, but I still stuck to my very liberal views on everything else. So it was very weird time in my life for the 7 years after that, between then and Obama, when everything finally started to change, and I started although, you know, like Danilo, I mean I have said it, even though he used to be very self-deprecating about it with himself. I voted for him too the first time. But that was only because I was actually, like I said, even though I started to change with my business, I still voted, like, even after I started my business.
What was attractive to Obama, though?
Well, okay, all right. With that particular situation? No.
He wasn't Romney, or he wasn't McCain.
No. He didn't have Palin. I was all set because, like I said, around 2006,
I think McCain fucked himself there too.
I started my company in 2006, so that's when with the house and the company and everything. That's when I started shifting towards more and more conservative, and I was but even then in 2008, I still wasn't sure. But then I finally decided I was finally, for the first time in my life, going to vote for a Republican. The only other time I'd ever voted for a Republican in anything else was when my cousin was running for town clerk, because he ran on the Republican ticket. And I voted for him the first time he ran, and then after he won every re-election, I would vote for him again. He was the only Republican I had ever voted for. I was all set.
You got to vote Fan-Man,
to
right?
finally vote for McCain and finally vote for a Republican. And when all that shit with Sarah Palin started, like all that bullshit that started, because most of it was bullshit, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, that she was just this complete idiot, and that she was hunting she was hanging out in a helicopter shooting wolves with a fucking rifle, and like on a regular basis. And I fell for all the shit, and I was like, I can't in good conscience vote for anybody who's connected to this woman. So I just went ahead and voted for Obama. And then
Palin didn't
6 months later,
Palin didn't throw me off.
Yeah, I don't know. She bugged me. Biden should have fucking thrown me off just as much, but I was still so blinded that I was like, oh, career politician. He obviously knows something about something. Like, she was like a small time politician essentially, because even Governor of Alaska is not really much of anything. No offense to our
I
fans
can't
in
remember
Alaska,
who
whoever hears this.
I'm pretty sure Ron Paul was my pick during that whole thing.
I didn't even learn about Ron Paul until 2 years later. 2010 is when I finally heard it. When I had heard about him before, but I didn't.
You didn't know about him.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. I was so focused on finally voting for a Republican.
You know who Joe Scarborough is, but you don't know who Joe Scarborough is, right?
I know. At that point, I probably knew more about who Joe Scarborough was than Ron Paul was, sadly. But,
oh Lord.
Yeah, I didn't like I said, but that's when I started. That's when everything started.
The way they treated Ron Paul, because that's what really cinched it for me. Like, and all I needed to see it was that first time. I mean, and you're talking to somebody at the time. I was really into debating. I was really into teaching people to debate. I was really into teaching debate and being into all this politics, very heavy. And when they abandoned, in my eyes, the Constitution, the clear Constitution pick, I felt it was time. Even then, in the 2004 election, it was time for Ron Paul to get elected, to pull this mess, this catastrophe, this unconstitutionality of the George Bush administration back towards swing the pendulum back towards more constitutional action. And that was the rationalization. And then when they picked McCain, a clear neocon, establishment, globalist war hawk, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done. And I haven't voted or participated in politics since then. And then, it just took a while for me to understand and really understand what libertarianism is before I took anything action politically. But that's what happened, man. I just they make these blatant decisions, the politicians do, that kind of, it's like the curtain kind of drops for a second, and then they're like rushing to pull it back up, and you're like, what? Why did they not do that? You're like, you can't be the party of conserve this and conserve that, and the Constitution this and the Constitution that, and literally shit on the Constitution every fucking chance you get, and that be literally your only modus operandi. And eventually you can only say to yourself, well, they had to do this because they're playing ball, or, well, they had to make this consent. Eventually you have to say, well, no, I'm done. This is all a farce. And that's because it is. It's just a piece of paper that's used to trick people to believe that other people have the right to rule you, and they don't. And it pisses me off to no end that people are still believing this lie that the Constitution or a constitutional government is obtainable or something that can be strived for.
Yeah, but again, look what we're talking about here. We're talking about, our path to this, and like me especially, I'm talking about how ridiculously blind I was to all of this shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So it's for most people, it takes a direct assault on them in some way or for and unfortunately, just the tax thing is not enough, because even when you get mad at taxes, like, for me, when I bought my house and started my business, it was kind of like, oh, now things are starting to sink in. This isn't cool. I don't like this shit. But you look around and you see, okay, everybody else is dealing with the same thing. So if you're not ready to jump to, well, why is everybody dealing with the same thing? What is this authority thing? Why do we have to listen to them at all? Like, if you're not ready to take that leap yet, you get stopped at, oh, well, this sucks, and I really hate this, but everybody else around me has to deal with this too, so this is just kind of the way it is, and you get very comfortable. You become complacent.
Go along to get along.
Yeah. So, like I said, for me, I went through that, and then I went through the thing. I went through the trying to make a transition and then falling back on voting for Obama anyway, because I still got fooled by the media and stuff like that. But it didn't take very long. It only took.
So it wasn't McCain. It was Palin. You were like, I got to vote Obama because Palin.
Yeah, I was really that blinded by the media that I thought
I almost went and voted McCain Palin just because I hated Obama so much. Because at the time, I was watching Hannity and listening to a bunch of other guys like Levin and all that. I was listening to them 24/7. I didn't even watch TV or anything. I just listened to news radio.
See, that's so funny. That didn't come for like years later for me.
Oh man, that was while I was in high school even. I loved it. I have to feel like I need to know everything. Well, I mean, I feel like I need to know everything, and when I don't know things, it pisses me off. And history is one of them, and politics is basically live history. And it's
kind of.
It just amazed me how wrapped up in the cloth I got about conservatism. I mean, if we would have crossed paths when I was all in that, we would have been just another liberal and another conservative yelling at each other. And
well, no, well, like I said, you're talking about the same. We hit, like, at that point, that you're talking about now. That's when I was making the change. So we may have actually. It may have been different than if we met years beforehand when I was still like a hardcore liberal. I
was kind of in your face, like conservative. I was one of those going to the tea parties.
I can't imagine you ever being confrontational, Dave.
Hey, that's how you weed out the weak, man. If you can't even handle a verbal confrontation, you're going to run from that, then you're going to flight from real risk.
Well, no, like I said, just the time frame we're talking about, I was already considering myself more conservative, and I actually had changed.
But I probably would have hated you because you voted for Obama. Like,
probably.
I literally would have disowned my family. Like, no one I knew was voting for Obama at that time.
But guess look where you are.
Yeah. It's a little different in Alabama.
Exactly. Out here on Long Island, everybody was, even though this was, Long Island's supposed to be considered one of the Republican strongholds in New York because it's just outside the city, and there are at least according to the people they keep electing to office out here, they do elect a lot more, usually like a 3-to-1 thing of Republicans to Democrats in the state seats all around here. But obviously, on the larger level.
It's funny, and I this is just a side note, and I guess we could discuss this for a second, but it's really interesting. It just hit me while you were talking. Okay, there's
translation. Dave wasn't actually listening.
No, I was listening. There's more Republican governors, Republican senators, Republican state congressmen. There's more Republican politicians currently elected than there has been, I think, ever.
Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Out of the 50 states, I think 32 are Republican with
Well, I knew the governor.
majorities.
Yeah, I knew the governor thing was kind of high at the moment.
And there's super majorities in 28 or 27 of Republicans, and they're working.
Really?
So yeah. So if that's the case, this is just a question I kind of want to lend out to all the Republicans that might be listening. If that's the case, why aren't taxes going down? Why isn't Obama being stopped full scale? Why can't the majority of the governors just say, hey, look, we're marching the troops to Washington. This is clearly unconstitutional. If they are the party of the Constitution.
Well, because regardless of whether they claim to be the party of the Constitution, overwhelmingly the establishment on both sides, and again, this is just stepping into their world and playing the status game here. The establishment on both sides views the Constitution in the post Madison versus Marbury, post Reconstruction, post 16th and 17th the Amendment view. It does not. The establishment on both sides does not take what is called the original intent view or whatever that is, whatever, like the people like Scalia supposedly was one of them, like it's not about, not interpreting it, taking it at its what, So, it's
not a living document.
Yeah, exactly. But the establishment on both sides views it very much so. If you're going to
living document, of course.
Yeah, if you believe that they all actually.
Well, they moved from constitutional law to case law essentially.
Yeah,
and the Supreme Court did that, and then basically the politicians followed suit. As long as there's been a state.
There's the majority.
Something to establish that's the state's has okayed it before, then the politicians aren't going to say, is this constitutional? They're going to say, oh, we can do this now.
Well, yeah, because they have long since given up the whole idea of any kind of turn backwards, because the whole thing with the case law, like you're talking about, it's not about what the actual opinions of these people are. They're just going on precedent. They're not going on that's how the overwhelming majority of cases go. It comes down to precedent. It doesn't come down to what's right and wrong.
Exactly.
I mean,
constitutional or not.
Yeah, and the overwhelming majority of judges, not even just in the Supreme Court, but in any of the federal courts, heck, even in the lower courts, the overwhelming majority of them are never going to buck the system. They don't want, there's a few that come along that want to make names for themselves that are that try to set precedent. But on the whole, most of them don't want it.
Their cars blow up.
Yeah, they want to keep their nice they want to keep their nice cozy jobs with their nice cozy pensions, and they
don't want to get suicided in the middle of the night.
I don't even know if it goes that far. I mean, it could. You never know what actually happens.
Well, you got to pull yourself out of the American view. You always have to pull yourself and look at just government as an institution as a whole. And across the governments across the globe, that shady shit goes down constantly all day.
Oh, sure. There's corruption on every level everywhere.
Everywhere.
But I can only go on what I've as far as observational stuff. I've seen what goes on in the different court, because I've been in criminal court, I've been in civil court, I've been in family court, I've been in pretty much every type of court. I think except tax court so far, but I've throughout my life I've been through a bunch of them, and you could just see the judges just they all have this air of superiority.
Oh yeah,
and that goes as far down till you have to wait till the judge is ready to come in, and then you got to stand for them, and then you have to wait. And then you can't speak until they want you to speak. Everything about it is just people talk about the more blind people were talking about, oh, it's it's a position of basically reverence and they deserve respect. No, fuck that. They don't deserve any respect. And especially when you're going to tell I gotta stand up when you enter the room. Fuck that noise, man. Why the hell? I'll stand up if I'm sitting on a train and a pregnant woman or an elderly woman or a disabled person gets on and needs the seat. I'll stand up in that situation. Otherwise, I ain't standing up for your fucking ass.
I stand up when I feel when I want to give respect, and if I don't respect you, why would I stand up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I can't even think of like anybody in my life other like unless stand up to give applause if like I'm at a show or like somebody's doing something and like you stand up and do that. Like other than that, I don't unless I'm actually greeting the person with like a handshake or a hug or like whatever it is. There's absolutely no need in my life. I can't think of any other one other than being forced to through government. That's the only
I'm really tired
church,
of
I guess,
government.
too. But I wouldn't,
I'm just really tired of it.
Yeah.
I think everyone is. But they don't. Either they do know it or they don't know it, and we need to get to the people that don't know it.
Well, those are like that's why these the kabuki theater of election season that they put us through is painful and drawn out and seems to last forever, especially once you're on this side of the fence. It becomes so excruciating at times. However, it is an excellent time to pick up the disillusioned, especially directly after the election.
Directly.
And then 6 months to a year, sometimes a year and a half later, when it really starts to sink in that all the promises that their candidate made, that they were so ecstatic for winning and we vanquished the evil bastards and thank God, whatever, it starts to sink in. It's like, wait a minute. He said he was going to, or she in this case, said they were going to do it and they didn't. What's up with that? Or why does it seem
feel a little different?
Why does it? Well, was that?
Doesn't this election feel a little different? Because I don't think anyone's going to swallow the Hillary pill. Like they destroyed their base when they fucked over Bernie, and then they've made them all disgruntled when when it's been leaked out now to find out that Bernie was in on it the whole damn time. So if she gets elected after they've killed their base and Trump's been the most popular thing, that's going to show that's the whole thing. That's Oz. That's the curtain getting pulled back, dude.
See, again,
that's it.
I've said this before. I don't like to hang my hat on single events like this because I've been burned by that way too many times before.
At least for a lot of people in the United States, that will be a triggering effect.
Yeah, but I think you're missing my point. I think in every one of these situations, it's always prime time to pick these people off and get their attention. I mean, could it be worse this time around? Sure, I guess it could be. It could be a little stronger because of Hillary and Trump, because of the personalities, because of the absolute hatred she seems to get from so many people. And you're right.
I don't hate many people in this world, but I hate her. I hate her.
She is one nasty piece of work. I will definitely say that. I try not to use the word hate that. I mean, I try to put myself in the shoes of like the status Dave, the guy that would still be like a hardcore Republican right now. There are people that are hardcore conservatives or whatever that you're making all these consolations by picking Trump. You are. He's letting a bunch of bullshit out. He was for single-payer health care, and then he was for Common Core, and then he flipped on those. And, so... Well, yeah,
it's leading you to believe that he might get in and just keep it as planned. It is. Maybe change a few things.
That's what I keep trying to tell everybody. It is going to be business as usual if he gets in.
Me and Jared talked about it on the Downfall. Last week's Downfall. We said, look, you'll know Trump is a fucking shill day one if he doesn't kick the Fed out. Day one!
He doesn't even have to be a shill, though. This is the point that I've been trying to make. It's not like, is it possible that he's a shill for the Democrats and whatever, and this was set up like this, and him and Hillary really are good friends and like whatever? Is it possible? Absolutely.
I'm going a level higher than that.
Okay, but
does he work for the powers to be, the Fed, the powers?
Okay, yeah. Is he that far up the ladder? Is it possible? Absolutely. However, it doesn't matter because what I've been trying to tell people is even if he's not, nothing is going to change. He would not have been, even if he's not on their team already. There is no way in hell he would have been allowed to get to this point unless the powers that be are damn convinced that they can control him, and at worst case just keep him at bay and keep doing keep having done what they want through their other people that are already in place. If they weren't convinced of that, he would not have reached this position. There are two people that are hand selected every fucking year.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you.
When people
but
say,
I like to play the scenarios out.
I know, but when people talk about the establishment, and I even said it before, I fell into the trap. They talk about the Republican establishment, the Democrat establishment. No, there is one establishment, and they have people on both fucking quote unquote sides, and that's what runs. Everything.
I don't know how hard this pill right here is for people to swallow. The Federal Reserve can print any amount of money they want. Give a senator or someone else a bank account card or whatnot. They can give anyone that. They can give them a bank account in Switzerland with $1 billion on it and say, vote this way on this, and boom, it's done. People don't understand that, and I don't understand why that can even be allowed. Like, that's the farce of the whole system. The Fed can just pay off anybody because they can just print out the money and go, here you go.
Well, yeah, but that would require a basic understanding of economics, which, as we know, most people don't really have.
I think it goes a little something like this. If you get into a position of power and you're not controlled opposition, a position of power that you could really screw up the plans of the powers to be, you are given so much money and you are dirtied up so bad that if you ever broke that line, you would take down yourself so bad that it would, like, that's the fear. You essentially put yourself into a thing where you're so easily blackmailed that you have to comply with everything. That's why you see this blatant evil shit going on.
Well, yeah, but again, it takes certain understandings for people to recognize these things. And most people...
I know we talk a lot about the Fed on the Seeds of Liberty Network, and I know that's majority driven by me, but it bothers the fuck out of me that this just sits around like, oh, this is no big deal. Let's just go get our lattes and
yeah, because again, people just, you grow up with this. You get taught in school that this is why the Fed is here for a reason. It was put in place. It helps in all these ways. Yada yada yada, and that's what you're told. That's what you think. Most people, and again, I include myself in this before I started figuring everything else out. I was just as blind to all this stuff, and most people are because. I forget who actually coined the phrase, but there's the Rothbard quote where he refers to the dismal science of economics, because that's what there's another economist who actually, I think it was the economist who coined. I forget who it was.
Hazlitt, I believe.
No, I thought it was somebody else. I was reading a couple of weeks ago about something. Anyway, but there's a reason that it's considered that, because it's designed. People are taught to think that it's just boring. And only the really, like, nerdy people that
autistic.
Yeah, kind of. Those are the ones. They're really smart people. They're the ones that deal with the economic stuff. Everybody else, you don't want to get into that. It's just, it's you'll get in over your head, and it's just all these words, and all you really need to worry about is you go get a job and you make this amount of money, and we take this amount of money from you, but then you get to keep the other money, and then you just figure out how to spend that money, and that's all you really need to know. And for most people, it doesn't go much further than that. They'll learn what it is to take a loan to get like a car, to get a car loan or get a mortgage or something like that. But even those things, they're not really taught in school for the most part. You have to figure those things out. But again, you don't go much further than that. And because of the vicious cycle that everybody's kept in with the ever increasing state and the ever increasing regulations and taxes and bullshit, the
balloons don't pop till they have too much air in them, Jeremy.
Well, yeah, I know. But between that and then the media cycle, which is designed to keep people off balance and always worried about the next big thing and always distracted by the next big thing, with all of those things, most people are way too caught up in just trying to fucking survive that even the possibility of considering delving further into this stuff and learning why is it that things are really that bad is very low.
They're wondering how they're going to afford baby formula.
Exactly.
I get it. No, I completely get that. But There has to be a pushback against the tyranny.
But again,
you know?
that goes back to what we started talking about a little while ago, about how right after the election and then all these other times, these little time frames after the election are the best times to reach out to these people, because once people become disillusioned, it's very easy to still be stuck in the Twitter and meme generation and and immediate and like think something's wrong for a while, get pissed off about it, become apathetic for a while, but not actually make any progress beyond that, so that then when the next big thing does happen, you're just as susceptible as anybody else to get swept back up in it and start thinking you need government for these things. That's why, like I said, right after the election, after whichever side loses, that's the best people to target and try to present these ideas to them and say, be like, hey, you know, even if you have to start out, you know, kissing their butt a little bit, you know, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, it kind of hurts, right? You know, it stinks, you know, your guy lost or your woman lost, whatever, and it sucks and you feel, but hey, maybe, you know, there's a better way anyway. Same thing with the other side. Like I said, maybe 6 months, a year.
And it's not a better way for society. It's a better way for you. It's an individual choice, and that's the hardest thing to get people to realize at the beginning.
Well, see, I would say I think it personally. I think it would be a better choice for society, but it is a choice for it is a better choice. It is obviously up to the individual anyway. But what I'm saying is, you know, so like I said, even for the side that wins, you know, 6 months, a year and a half down the road, check in with them too, because when things start going wrong and they're like, wait a minute, this isn't what we were promised, that's another time they start to get disillusioned. Perfect time to get in there and start planting seeds right then, because that was me. Like I said,
I sure wish somebody would have came and talked to me after Ron Paul got kicked out and McCain got picked in the primaries that year. If someone would have said, hey man, read Anatomy of the State by Murray Rothbard and all of this will make sense, I would have been like, okay, and as soon as I would have read it, bam, wham, thank you, ma'am. That's, in my opinion, the red pill. But, you know, that is my opinion.
Yeah, but again, it's a timing factor with that, and, you know, it doesn't usually happen that easily.
No, you got to be open. You have to be ready for it, you know?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about just having that information put in your laps. It doesn't usually happen like that. Sometimes it does. No, it doesn't. It usually doesn't. It's usually not at the time that, you know, especially if you look back in your life, try to be in hindsight, be like, well, yeah, if then, yeah, there's a reason it didn't happen.
I mean, I got into a Twitter war with a verified user the other day. I don't know who it was. Michael Malice, I think. And
really?
Yeah, he was talking about how we need to get Trump or not, make sure Hillary doesn't get elected. And I said, this is all a sham. Maybe we should try anarcho-capitalism. And then that was a huge back and forth for.
He's an anarchist, though.
I know, but you got to understand the propaganda, though. He was playing devil's advocate. I knew he was, but I was being nice, giving sources, giving books, you know, saying all this. And there was a bunch of people reading along. And I think that's smart when people do that, especially people with a pedestal. But, you know, that just goes to show you, one person, you can just tell somebody, hey, man, have you even heard about anarcho-capitalism? The way society works now is people go, yeah, I need to go look that up because I have no fucking clue. Or they go, nah, I don't know what it is, and they go right back down to their Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and they're done. So you're talking to either brain dead people or people that want to learn, and you got to learn to be able to choose between the two very quickly. Don't waste your time. But yeah, like what you were saying, you know, this post-election, and then even 6 or 7 months down the road after the new regime essentially gets in and nothing has changed, because I did air quotations with regime.
Yeah, no, I know.
When they get in and nothing changes, that, you know, people go, oh shit, you know, I guess we'll try again in a few more years.
Yeah,
because what it is they realize the position they're in. You're not in a good position if the only thing is you can cast a vote that might change someone's mind about voting some certain way in some secret election for people that are going to be running the government. That really the only interaction that you have with is pay up or else. So eventually you're going to become disillusioned if the kitty doesn't get pet every so often, so to say.
Yeah, well,
I think this election is making a lot more people hate government than usually.
No.
I've noticed that.
I don't know. See, I like to think that, but like I said, this seems to happen most times around people get.
I just don't remember so many people getting so vitriolic and so upset last election. I really don't.
See, I don't know. I remember I don't really remember last election. It's kind of a haze.
I remember it vividly.
08 I remember more, and there was a lot of stuff being thrown back and forth. So it was definitely pretty nasty. And it's you look back on it, man, it's always been nasty. It's always been the people get hyped up about it, or at least the ones that really want to pay attention.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, there's world leaders saying that, if Hillary Clinton gets elected, it's just straight war. And then there's some of them saying, that there's a bunch of shell games going on at the top right now, man. It's really weird. Really weird. I don't understand the whole thing. We're caught in a shell game, and unfortunately, a bunch of people believe in the thing that's tricking them. So we've got to use this election to our advantage and get as many people, completely disillusioned by this cult ritual, of this cult ritual.
Well, yeah, slowly but surely, man. Like I said, it's that's what I started saying before. Could this one be a bigger deal? Could this turn more people? Essentially, it's possible, sure. But I'm just trying to look at an overall strategy here, and as far as the overall strategy goes, and a lot of it is based on my own experiences because like I said with the 08 election. I was already pretty much convinced myself, and I had already changed my registration to Republican. I was headed that way, and then I just voted for Obama anyway. But I still pretty much consider myself. And then I realized it only took me about 9 months or so to realize, hey, wait a minute, why is nothing changing? What happened to all that hope and change? And that's when
it was like fucking nothing, right?
That's when
it was like, we're gonna burn the house down, we're gonna rebuild, nothing,
and then
crickets.
And then I was like, okay, it's still kind of early, and then I gave it another 7 months, so basically like a year and a half. And a year and a half in, that's when I was convinced. I'm like, holy crap, this is all bullshit. I'm like, he did absolutely, he's doing the opposite of what he said. This is ridiculous. So if I can't trust these guys and I can't trust the other guys, what the hell's going on, So that's why I think as an overall strategy, whether this election's a bigger one than others, it doesn't matter to me. I think an overall strategy, people should, attack, or I shouldn't say attack, come out and plant those seeds right after the election and wait to see how things go in 9, 12,
Till
15,
soil,
18 months. Go to the other side and check in with them. I said the same thing when the whole thing with Bernie happened. Although, and now even with the DN, with those more of those leaks, you would think that even more Bernie supporters would be.
Yeah, more people are going to be.
So
more people, dude.
But that's what I said. Yeah. Even when they didn't know about that stuff, and they were just convinced that Hillary stole it from him.
Oh, they were getting Bernie tattoos.
Well, no,
we were watching it all. I mean, they were going crazy. They were ready to put this guy up as the next Jesus. And now they're finding out he was in on it the whole time. Not like he was controlled opposition the entire time. Not he got paid off to shut up and walk away. He was legit in on it the whole time. They used him to get money from the millennials that they knew were not going to donate to Hillary and get in and register and all that. And now all those people are registered Democrat. They're hoping they'll just go in and vote Hillary. It's just so funny, man.
Well, it was a brilliant plan. Got to give them that.
But all that work kind of makes the conspiracy theories that you read kind of sound silly, because why would you go through all this work if it was, locked up and sold up anyway? I guess to keep it making look legitimate.
Well, yes. Well, that's what that's another thing I've been trying to explain to people. There's a couple of people I've been having conversations of I'm like, really? You don't see this? This is in 08 wasn't it 08 when it was Hillary and it was Hillary and Obama in 08, right? For the Democratic nomination. Yeah. They the stuff they were but it was basically the two of them. The stuff they were hurling at each other, the things they were saying about one another on the campaign trail, and then all of a sudden it's oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then they claim, I heard, I can't remember who it was. I was listening to somebody today, some podcast, and they were talking about it. And just, kind of as an aside there, like, oh, yeah, and the two of them, there's really no love lost between Obama and Clinton. I'm like, really? I'm like, do you really think they hate each other? Like, no. These people, like, once you're in that inner circle, like, they're all playing for the same team. Like, so it is. It's all
an act.
Yeah, exactly. When they go out and, like,
when the Undertaker and John Cena walk behind the curtains, they're shaking hands and saying, where do you want to go get a drink at?
Well, see, and I see, it's so funny you said that, because I was going to allude to that. Because, like, even back in, like, the 40s, 50s, 60s, I think, maybe even the 70s, or no, was it the early? Yeah, because Tip O'Neill, like, in the early 80s. Like, it was still very common for all the Republicans and Democrats, or not all of them, but, a good deal of them, to be seen out drinking with one another, having dinner with one another, like in the Washington scene. And it doesn't really happen as much anymore, at least not publicly. But
have you seen the show on Amazon called Brain Dead?
No.
You have to watch it.
I'll check it out.
No. You have to watch it. You're going to love it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But, these people like to think that, oh, well, that politics was a little bit nicer then because at least they would go out. No. That was them being very blatant about the fact that no matter what they said to each other in the chambers and how they screamed at each other, like, they didn't give a fuck. They were still buddies.
As usual.
Exactly. Like, that was them being open about it. So
I was reading a thing that a senator leaked about how day-to-day life works, and basically you go to, like, you're basically the head guy. He was a Republican, so he was basically saying, yeah, we go in, Boehner goes, hey, you're going to vote this, and this, and you're going to be using these talking points in these town halls, and you're going to be talking about this, and this, and don't step out of these lines. Bye. And if you don't agree to be into this thing and agree to say everything, you basically get blackballed, and no one will do anything with you. You'll just be set there to do nothing. Like, your vote won't matter. No, like, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah. That's like the first thing. That's the first thing rookie congressmen, senators, whatever. That's the first thing they're told. They get there with all those, like, even the good ones, the ones that people vote in and like, oh, he's a good guy. He really wants to change things. Yeah. And they get there with all that energy, and they're immediately told, all right, yeah, that's great. You got some great ideas. Here's the deal, though. You're going to sit here and vote down the party line for the next 3 or 4 years, and if you do that and you're a good boy, then we'll talk.
Funding.
And then, if you do that, you get some money. But
you want to get reelected, don't you?
Exactly. And if that's what you want to do, if you do that, then we could start talking about the votes you want to make and things you want to make happen. I'm
wondering when some senators and congressmen and just people up in the government are just going to say fuck it and go rogue and just fuck this whole shit up. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet.
If Ron Paul didn't do it, do you really think there's anybody else out there?
No, I'm talking about like going full-blown nihil, like full-blown, I'm doing whatever it takes to get to the top, and then they just mudslide this shit. They just derail the whole thing.
Well,
you think there's people in the military and in the government and all that they're at the top that are just like waiting for their moment?
No.
No? You think they're all line towers?
Not maybe at their core, sure, because they're still there.
I guess it depends on how hard they're pushed, right? Individually, how hard they get fucked over.
Yeah, because again, the compensation that they're receiving, especially the higher up the ladder you go.
But I mean, there's Edward Snowden, which there's conspiracies around him, but he basically gave his life to share information.
Yeah, and he was nowhere near the top of the power structure.
Yeah,
allegedly.
And that's just one guy.
Well, yeah.
But this has been a fun two-man show. I've enjoyed our little back and forth here.
Yeah, man. This was a little impromptu. We originally had some guests scheduled, but things did not work out. But I guess it's okay to rap with you every once in a while, Dave. We don't do it enough. We should.
Yeah. We don't get too upset and yelling at each other about anything, so I don't know if that's
not anymore.
No, I don't. I'm not very I don't yell a lot anymore about anything. I'm just like, do you got the facts, evidence? If not, I'm gonna be over here doing this. So.
I still yell, but my nickname's not bellicose for nothing, man. I like to argue and do it loudly.
You're Italian, man. You get that fire in you.
I'm
You gotta
Italian.
let it out or it'll burn you up.
I'm Italian and Irish. I got a nasty mix of attitude.
If you don't let it out, it'll burn you up. It'll eat you up inside. I got a friend who's Italian. He's just a big ball of emotion. I'm like, dude, you gotta let it out. He's like, I don't know why I'm so emotional. I'm like, you gotta let it out, man. You're Italian.
I let it out all the time. I'm still angry. That's why I smoke cannabis. I'm much better that I've been self-medicating with this for 17 years than I was prior. So, and just imagine, and when people say to me, "Oh, that can't be true," I'm like, "Yeah, just take me how I am now and imagine me without it." And then they usually stop bugging me about my cannabis smoking. So, exactly.
Yeah.
But all right.
Well, I've had fun, Jeremy. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
And taxation is in fact death. I was thinking about a 5 billion man march on all the capitals of the world, and the only thing they're saying is taxation is theft in their cultural language. That's it. It's worldwide.
That's a long
worldwide,
Dave.
So we'll see.
All right.
Well, it was a dream.
So, this has been the Seeds of Liberty podcast. All our information can be found at theseedsofliberty.com. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Recently reading into the thesis here, mirroring the people who completely fail to see it though. Seeing is believing, yes, the reason is appealing most. Reading enemies is just enables you to see it too. Menial. Recently reading into the thesis here, mirroring the people who completely fail to see it though. Seeing is believing, yes, the reason is appealing most. Reading enemies is just enables you to see it too.
Now that you put it that way, I have the answer to that question. It's projection. That's what it is. It's not a cop-out to call us utopians. They're actually projecting their own self-hatred onto us.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.